Well, here's another one that's come in from my buddies that log. The flange, the piston flange or deck flange, as Stihl calls it, flange, whatever, disintegrated. It's in a million pieces right down in here. And apparently they run it long enough after it started making racket to do this to the top of the piston and blow a chunk out of it. But luckily enough, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to put a new piston or a new cylinder on it or not. It all looks fairly good. I may hone it and clean up this squish band a bit, clean that little gouge up in the top of the muffler. Other than that, it looks fairly decent. I'm going to have to get a little better light and inspect it a little further, but I think we will just continue to run that maybe, because I hate to say it, but it's not going to be long and they're going to be bringing it back with another problem, because no matter how many times I tell them, which like I told him earlier, I don't care. I'm just trying to help him out. I like the business, but no matter how long or how much I tell him, that's been loose and watered out. This is broke off, so they're really rough on saws, But no matter how much I tell him, to keep your chain sharp and make sure the bolts are tight, because this front cylinder bolt here was backed out about 1/4 inch. All the rest were fairly tight. But, that could cause a bit of an air leak on an older gasket, You can see the rubber is starting to, or whatever that coating is starting to give way. But anyway, yeah, and I had some guys on my last video that I showed kind of knocking the way I took the saw apart, not grabbing the right tools. I'm a guy that just gets it done. Now, when I put it back together, I used all the right stuff and didn't beat on nothing. But the way I look at it, when, I had this thing tore apart like this, got the cylinder off within 5 minutes. But when you're, just to show them what was wrong, because I have a feeling sometimes it's not that they don't believe me. I just want them to know that I'm not trying to duke them out of any money. But I have a feeling, sometimes they're thinking, surely we ain't having this much problems out of running door chains and not checking our bolts and maintenance and things like that. This is the air filter. Of course, he didn't bring a chain in on it this time. The air filter's not terrible, but I've seen better. But anyway, they knocked me a little bit for he just texted me back and sent me the pictures, but they knocked me a little bit on the comment section for, tapping stuff with a scrunch and hitting stuff a little hard or whatever. And my thing is, I'm just getting it apart. The saw's already jacked up, so what else are you going to tear up? I knew the cylinder was bad, knew the piston was bad because it was locked on there so tight you couldn't slide it off. So, if I beat the whole damn thing off with a sledgehammer and busted it right down the middle, what's it hurting? It's not hurting anything. As long as I don't hurt none of this or none of the bearings or none of this back here, whatever I do all this, I could take a saw and cut this right clean in two and it not be in any worse shape than it is right now. The rod has a little bit of discoloration. I'm going to check and see if it's got slop or what. I tend to see that a little bit on saws of high use, and I've put them back. I've put new ones in some, and I put some back together, and they're still running way on down the line. I'll put a cylinder and piston in them way before the rod ever gives way. But anyway, so we'll see how it goes, and I just wanted to share this. So main thing I was pointing out about the comments, you don't have to be technical Tommy when you're taking something apart that's already broke. get it apart to where you can look at it and get after it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I could have took 30 minutes and dug around on this mess because I've been breaking saws apart and getting some of my stuff ready and whatnot and working on my stuff. The shop's a mess. I clean it up and it gets right back a mess. But there's like 4 things that I use right there. And the rest is stuff that I use if it's a little tricky. But you don't have to get all technical and be just, real nice and easy with things. Just get it apart and get on with it, you know what I mean? Yeah, you look really good doing it that way, I guess, but it's kind of boring too. And, the couple guys that commented on that, they've got channels, and I've got 18,000 followers nearly, and I'm not trying to boast or brag, but they've got like 150 and trying to tell me how to do stuff. But anyway, we'll catch y'all later. I appreciate you. And I stay as busy as I want to on saw work. I don't even really care for working on these things, but these guys, apparently around their part of the woods, the steel dealer was really ripping them a new one or something, because I fixed a couple saws for him, giving him the price, and he's all right. And I'm not charging as much as the main shops do, but I'm still charging like $60, $65 a man hour to work on these. So, but my local steel and Husqvarna shop, they charge like $90 to $110 an hour is what their new prices went up to. And I get it, like they're a business, they got to keep it going, but I just don't feel right charging it. And sometimes I charge less than that, and sometimes I charge a little more depending on how crappy it is, But to put that piston and cylinder on, it took me like, I don't know. By the time I got everything together, I run it, and I did a little cleanup work on it and everything. So it, I think I charged him right at like $60, and sharpened his chain, cleaned his air filter out, and fixed something else. I can't remember what it was. Oh, fixed his oiler, and charged him $60. So anyway, it's no big deal. We'll catch y'all later. Appreciate you. Have a good one.